Kia ora everyone, and welcome to this video about the new moon in Virgo that's coming up at the end of this week on Saturday. So in the video I'm going to talk about the astrology of the new moon from the point of view of Western tropical astrology, but I'm going to translate that a little bit to the point of view of Aotearoa New Zealand, where we live. My name is Fiona of Sun and Moon Calendar.nz. So the new moon in Virgo takes place on Saturday 27th of August at around 8:15 in the evening. It will be exact with the moon and sun together in the west, just below the horizon, because it will be after sunset. So by the next morning, Sunday morning, the moon will have pulled a little bit away from the sun, and you will also see some other planets. So if you've got a good view of the east, you will see Venus, and Venus is getting closer to the sun now, so might not be visible for much longer, but I think still visible at the time of the new moon. Directly overhead we will have Mars, or matawhero. Mata is like the face or the surface, and whiro, red. So Mars is starting to look a little bit red now. It's looked white for a while, but later in the year it will be much closer to Earth and more intensely red. And the brightest planet that you will see over to the west will be Jupiter, which has a number of names in te reo. And I've put there the different signs that those planets are in. So Virgo, and the new moon in Virgo, that takes place at 4 degrees and 3 minutes, and Virgo is all about daily routines and daily habits and how we give service and how we work on a daily basis. The ruling planet of Virgo is Mercury, known as the messenger of the gods, or the messenger of the sun. Mercury in Virgo is about intelligence, analysis and discernment, attention to detail, and sorting where those details will be placed and organized within the brain. The element of Virgo is earth, and that means that Virgo is concerned with tangible and practical matters, those practical things that we do on a daily basis and that we do for others. With the element of earth, Virgo is hardworking and practical. Virgo likes to clean things up, keep things in order. It likes things tidy. There's attention to giving service, both to others in practical ways and also to the self in terms of self-care and the daily routines of self-care. The modality of Virgo is mutable. So there is a curiosity about Virgo. Virgo loves to seek perfection and will tinker away and tweak systems and objects and ways of doing things to try and get them even more perfect, and there's great pleasure in that for Virgo. On the day of the new moon, it is whiro, and that is a time to pause and rest and contemplate, and don't do too much. You can see the crescent moon in that picture up the top there, but on the day of that new moon you won't be able to see the crescent moon. A couple of days later, on hoata or aue or aorangi, when the crescent moon is visible, that is a time to start the new things for the month, your new projects. You'll plant your seeds at a springtime and form your new habits. Start to work on those, your Virgo daily routines. Think about an area in your life where you like to give service, where you like to be organized and you've got good analysis, discernment, you're very analytical in the way that you think, and you're happy to work at self-improvement of daily routines. And that could be in the area of relationships, it could be in the area of your career, it could be in your finances, it could be your whole self if you are Virgo rising. But everyone has this Virgo energy and that analysis and discernment and the desire for self-improvement at the risk of being a little overly critical of oneself. We've all got that somewhere in our charts and in our lives. And we have the coming of spring, mahuru, time to start on our springtime activities, maybe some spring cleaning with that Virgo energy. And we can listen out for some signs of spring, like the call of the pipi whararoa, the shining cuckoo. I wonder if YouTube will ping me for that. It's copyright, might think it's some music. I'm going to talk about some other energies that are going on with this new moon. So I will talk about Uranus, and then Mars, and then Mercury. And Uranus is quite highlighted at the moment all year because it's conjunct with the North Node in Taurus, and it has just turned retrograde, so it will appear to go backwards in the sky if you had a telescope and you could see it. And with this, it's a chance to revisit those Uranus themes. So lots of changes that we've had this year, and it's time to go back over them. Themes of changes, innovation, revolution, and surprising truths, truth bombs. And that's what Uranus has been bringing out, and we will have a chance to revisit some of those. So I talked about this in the last video, but just to remind you, Uranus and the North Node are together for the rest of the year, and along with those themes of disruption and innovation and revolution, the North Node, or the eclipse point, brings with it sudden changes that can help us on our collective soul's journey. So there's disruption there too, more likely in October when we have the eclipses again. And just to remind you that those disruptive energies and the themes of revolution and innovation are taking place in the sign of Taurus, and Taurus being about those tangible taonga of Papatūānuku. We're noticing effects on resources and supply chains and money systems. There's more to come of this. And we still have the T-square to Saturn, and that's active all year and getting more intense. So that is where the innovation and change and disruption is coming up against the desire for authority, structure, and rules and regulations that Saturn brings. Some of the things we've been hearing on the news and the changes to what's in the supermarkets, the idea that we might be going cashless, all of this is kind of scary, uncomfortable changes. What can help us through this time of uncertainty? I believe that the astrology helps us this month by giving us Virgo energy. If we look to Virgo to help us focus on our daily routines and what we can do in small ways to make a difference to ourselves, to the earth, this is a chance to make some new starts in that way. So have a think about, again, as I always say, your big picture visions, what you want for the world, how you'd like it to be, how you'd like us to share resources so that everyone is cared for, and then how can that be affected in our daily lives. Now I'm going to talk about Mars, and Mars is going to be interesting for the rest of the year. It's just moved into Gemini, and it's going to be in Gemini for 8 months, which is really unusual, and that's because Mars is going retrograde later in the year. In Gemini, Mars can feel kind of scattered because Mars is energy and drive and initiative, and Mars will want to go and do things, and because Gemini likes to do lots and lots of things, Mars might try and do everything, which will be too much. So that energy will be affecting us. And also because Gemini is about communication and Mars can be quite direct, not tactful, there could be some harsh words spoken or written on social media. So what will help with this is using discernment so that we can pick out what we choose to put our time into and how we choose to use our words. And Mercury will help us speak for peace. Mercury at the time of the new moon is trine to Mars in the sign of Libra. And in Libra, Mercury is really good at using words for diplomacy, for harmony, for finding out what everyone needs so that there can be a way to find a win-win for everyone and everyone's needs are met. We have Mercury Retrograde coming up starting on the 10th of September, and this is a time for 3 weeks where we might need to have a lot of going back over things. We try and move forward with things and we find we have to go back and redo them. Our emails end up in someone's junk box. Things like that happen. Okay, and you can see here how Mercury has got ahead of the Sun. It's moved into Libra. That's at the start of the retrograde. On the 23rd of September, Mercury and the Sun will be conjunct, and that's because, as I said, Mercury appears to be going backwards, and it will join the Sun on that day and then the end of the retrograde period is where Mercury has moved behind the sun, or the sun has moved ahead, and that's the 2nd of October, and Mercury will be back in Virgo by then and the sun in Libra. During Mercury retrograde, always take care of communications and accept that things will need to be revisited. People can tend to feel a bit scared and a bit negative about Mercury retrograde, but it is a gift from the universe, a chance to go back and review, go over things, and perhaps uncover important information from the past, or sort things out that need to be sorted so that things can then go smoothly by the end of that 3-week period. I do tend to feel quite a bit tired and quite relieved once it is over at the end, but I'm always quite glad that things got sorted out that came up during that time. So now I'm going to go through a list of recommendations or suggestions of things that you could think about with this new moon, and you could use them as meditation or journal prompts if you like, or just have a think about them as you go around. First of all, with spring or mahuru coming up, what seeds do you want to plant? And these can be metaphorical seeds or the actual seeds for growing your own food or for pretty flowers that you want in your garden. With the Virgo new moon, what do you want for your daily life? How do you want that to look? What routines and habits do you want to form? Also, with the Virgo new moon, if you are considering giving service in some way, now is a really good chance to think about that. How do you want to give service? What do you want to do? The new moon in Virgo will support all these kinds of new starts. And with Uranus going retrograde, this is a chance to review some of the sometimes shocking changes and turns around that have happened in the last months or the last year. Think about those themes of innovation and freedom and revolution. Are there places where you want to revise some decisions that you made along those themes? So with Uranus retrograde, we have a chance to do that. And in preparation for Mercury retrograde, remember to check your communications, your wording of things, and how you organize things, because where you make small errors, they could come back to bite you later on, because that is the nature of Mercury retrograde, though I also acknowledge that it is for the highest good of all and we must be positive about it. So good luck with this Virgo new moon, with sorting things out, having a clean up, tidying up some of your daily routines, cleansing, purifying, and applying your critical thinking and analytical skills. I'm going to finish with a whakatauki from this beautiful book, Aroha by Hinemoa Elder. It's the second whakatauki in her book. He iti hoki te mokoroa, nāna I kakati te kahikatea. So while the mokoroa grub is small, it cuts through the white pine, and there is power in small things. And I think that this is a really good whakatauki for Virgo and for the routines of daily life, and how those small things that we do, like cleaning our teeth, can make a big difference in the long term. Hei kona rā ka ki te koutou.